In this video we're going to talk about how to build a strong wrist, strong cup, and right away I want to say that we are going to talk about exactly that, wrist and cupping part of that. We're not going to talk about rising or pronation, even though I understand those are wrist exercises and they can be part of your routine. In my opinion, there's just so much to talk and there's so many exercises that can be done with those. It's like a separate subject for the videos, but it is part of your wrist, so if they are part of your workout, go crazy. Just in this video we're gonna cover this stuff: hand, wrist, not this or this. So to me, having a strong wrist, it's kind of about three things. It's about having a good flat hand strength, this flat containment, right? Having a good cup ability to wrist curl here. I understand this and this are the same muscle group, two different positions, right? The third, how tight and deep is your range of motion. And I'm gonna talk about it first to get it out of the way. I think your range of motion is not only your way to get a strong, but also really healthy wrist also. So I think your ability to be able to curl your wrist as deep as you can is pretty important, right? Like just be able for your body to know what it's like, what it needs to do. I think generally if you're a person with lesser range of motion, that someone has deeper range of motion, you're obviously able to deal more damage to your opponent. So that's why I think consistently, I mean, sometimes I know it's like a maybe far-fetched subject, but I think if you do able to work on your stretching ability, getting your wrist tighter, getting a lot of your limbs tighter actually, it will help your arm wrestling game in general, because you want range of motion, especially you want range of motion that is closer to you, right? And wrist is applied here. So stretch your stuff. It's okay to stretch stuff. Now your positions, I'm gonna cover them in how to train this stuff, right? I'm just gonna separate the training subject in two things: your power exercises versus your specific exercises. I talked about the subject deeper in my previous videos if you wanna go watch that real quick. First, we always gonna talk about this exercise. Nowadays, not my most favorite, however, it is important to talk about this one over here. Now the reason I want to mention this exercise, even though I'm not the biggest fan of it, and I'm not the biggest fan of it because I think it didn't really yield me as great gains as I will hope it did for me, but I think it is big exercise in Eastern Europe, obviously, and I think it's useful in general. But one of the biggest things why I will still have it is because it's complicated. It requires for you to stretch this wrist. It requires double work. You don't want to do that exercise, and whatever you don't want to do and avoid probably is good for your normal rack pull, and can be done as lazy as you want to be, as bad as your lower back can be. I just don't want to change the racks for now, so for me it's fairly low because it can be a little bit higher, but it's just your very top version of a deadlift. So you're picking up your bar and holding it. So obviously the closer you can make it to you, the easier it will be. The goal really not to do this little deadlift. The goal is to hold the bar in your hands. And the reason why I do love this exercise, this is one of the only exercises you can actually do a lot of weight pretty fast, because you sometimes can deadlift whole bunch, you can lift whole bunch, but one short move and holding it in your hand, you can do a lot of weight pretty fast. And your goal here also can be pretty easy, just to be able to hold weight for as long as you can, right? So for me, I at first struggled to be like doing 315 for a decent amount of time. Once 350 become comfortable, now whatever the 4 plates means after that, I was struggling to do that for a couple seconds, but now I haven't done that weight in a while, but I'll be able to hold it for a couple more seconds than normal. Daisy, you agree with me? Okay, are you a good girl? Okay. If you want to try to wrist curl on your lower sets, like usually 135 is on here, I'm able to do something. 225, it's a little seizure here. So after that, I'm just holding it. You know what? I was not gonna mention that, but a farmer walk and generally everything that you can statically hold and able to do with the bigger weight, if your back and your body allows you to walk with it, it's great. But that's also another great exercise for to build your general power, your hand strength. Now, arm wrestling specific stuff. It can go pretty deep and pretty crazy. There's about millions of variations and tools you can use and apply and do it on whatever 3D printer you got at home. You can go crazy with, right? You can use bigger handles, smaller handles, spinning, non-spinning. You can use 2x4s. You can, you know what to do. But since it's my video, I'm gonna show you guys what I've been doing, what I like, what have been working for me. Now, obviously, we're gonna start fairly complex, and I starting out with a wrist wrench. I'm not against a wrist wrench. I know there's debate that you have to hold on to that, but it's complex. It builds your hand strength. So, unless you're on some specific mission that you don't need just holding on, you just want to work with something, cop or whatever, sure, you don't have to waste your time on that. But overall, for beginner, or if you want to build a great hand strength, great exercise. Because first, also, it does build your ability to have this static hand strength in this position I've talked about. We haven't doing anything, but we're already working this flat position, right? Second, you obviously your wrist curl, right? So it works, it's very complex, it works everything you really need, right? Now, I used to be not a fan of the bigger ones, because used to be my debate. You don't really arm wrestle anybody with that big of a thumb or hand, right? It's really not even that big. Like by the time you remove someone's hand, it's a lot smaller. So when you want to talk about the real specific stuff, those big handles don't really translate on an actual table. The handle is a lot smaller. However, the older I become, I do realize the bigger the handle, I think there is a bigger attack there in the fingers. However, it also helps you to cup more. So, if you do have time, like I do have now, I also entertain bigger handles. I don't think there's anything wrong with them. But like I'm saying, it just, as far as the arm wrestling angle go, do not get used to just bigger handles, because that's not all arm wrestling. A lot of your arm wrestling is smaller hand. So I think that's what's important to note here. Now, I don't know if that's really called a small multi-spinner, but one of my favorite handles that I've made years ago after coming from Todd Hutchins' house. Like I said, I like smaller stuff because I think it's more around arm wrestling, but it did involve me not having such a strong cup in my opinion. That's why I'm currently working on a lot more other things. However, to build strong hand, man, and overall it does build your cup, but however, I think if I were to think would build my hand and overall in hand strength, and not necessarily the cup, but that flat hand thing, I think this was the handle that I like the most favorite. And the reason is because you can use it as a multi-spinner, right? I can wrap around it and do like multi-spinner magic and do my stuff. I know that's not how you wrap it, but you get the idea. I can do all this stuff. Great for general wrist curl. The top part pressure, I mean, maybe you're in a different situation than I am, but that's the way I get attacked, that's the way I feel it. I think that's so perfect for arm wrestling, so specific. Love the specific handle, very easy to make. It's been with me for years now, and it's been here now where a bunch of people actually train with this handle, and it's obviously have gone through different modifications. Still useful. Now, this is technically a different exercise, even though we're doing the same movements with different handle. And this is where it's gonna get funny. You can literally pick the handle of your liking and of your choice where you're at in your career. I'm doing this with Rolling Thunder because, like I'm saying, it's a pretty big handle. It's a lot to wrap around. So this is kind of what I currently need, right? I kind of want this proper cupping motion. One interesting moment I want to talk about, and it's the range of motion, because it will be the question, what are we doing? Are we letting our fingers go and wrist curling back. I'll be keeping it here and wrist curling back. I'll be letting it go backwards if you're going a little bit like this. I've seen Devon go pretty crazy nowadays and just do one very short movement. When I ask him why he only does that it's literally like this, because he said usually in arm wrestling match that's all you need. And you're kind of right. If you're able to establish that, you're normally able to establish a lot more. So I'll be honest, I don't know the correct answer. I've seen it all, and I've seen it. Europeans will go heavy on this. Devon says this. I'm neither one of them. I'm a Florida man. I'm gonna say this. You can conjugate that. You can do your volume days and your maybe slower, more throughout workouts when you're able to do your full motion. That's where you're able to do your full motion exercises for sure. Whenever you are on your max effort days, maybe you're able to count those smaller wrist curls as your successful rep. This is where you get your very short range of motion, and that's where you're happy with. Go ahead, go for it and try it out. You will have it. I don't think doing both gonna hurt you. Another thing, guys, if your wrist is your weakest point, like literally that's the point you always want to work on, and that's where you add in life, try to incorporate as many exercises that are actually hard for your wrist and try to change them. Like you can see here, doing the slap pull down, doing it this way is the most hardest for the wrist that you can do. So especially the heavier you go, you'll notice that doing your traditional way is much easier. So whatever it makes it hard for your hand, go for it. Different grip, no chalk, no straps, different stuff. Now stuff that we like to cancel as arm wrestlers. Pinch grip, hand grippers. Do you need to do all this stuff? Like heavy grip 150. Okay, still able to do it. Now, do you need it for arm wrestling? No. Will it help you make your hand better? Sure, and overall, yes. However, even with a regular bar, your kind of grip is more arm wrestling like, is more circled around, something taken. This, you're not really doing a whole bunch of pinching in actual arm wrestling too. Same thing with the grip here, you're not really squeezing a lot. Maybe some people are, so see how it fits you. If you do have time for that, sure. Most people do know that if you're training with grippers, it is very taxing. It takes a lot for your hand to recover, so that's maybe something, depends how much you love it. This concludes the list of my favorite exercises that I like to do. I know there's tons and tons more. I do not find the rest of them unuseful. It's just what I have time for, whatever usually in my training cycle, that's the exercise that I do. Sometimes they do change. I'm not against a lot of them. The trend that I see by looking for a lot of athletes, a lot of people do their own stuff for the wrist. I just feel like as long as we are, as regular people, can conjugate and take the best out of everything, meaning, if you like how one person does that stuff, try it out, see if it works. Try a different approach for somebody else and see if it works for you, because for the wrist, there are truly tons of different ways. But I think a couple things that you can always find, right, is that you do need to train with heavy weight, right? The building power wrist is important. You need to be a stronger person. One of the ways to do that, like I'm saying, is with those power exercises that allow you to do a lot of weight. Then you're able to put that into more specific stuff, and there's plenty specific exercises that I've showed, and I hopefully put enough b-roll over here. And if you don't find something that I showed, I'm sure there's a lot more stuff that you can find and find pretty useful, right? Use my advice wisely. Like this video, subscribe to my channel. I love you very much. Really, bitch, you're making this funny comments, nobody laughs.
Artem! Your wrist ain't strong, and this ain't your car. Get the fuck out.